and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life. This is in 2002 that Trump acknowledges he likes women on the, quote, younger side. The spa occasionally provided house calls for members. Epstein wasn't a dues-paying member of the club. Wonder why? But Trump told staff to treat him like one. They came to a halt in 2003, meaning the house calls, after an 18-year-old beautician returned to Mar-a-Lago from a house call to Epstein and reported to managers that he had pressured her for sex. You can help build the only independent news outlet, always on the ground with the people, for as low as 16 cents a day.
Corporate media, they've been lying to us for years, and you're going straight to the people.
Flint, Michigan.
Brooklyn, New York.
Government sending one more you to the residents of Chicago.
We need as many independent voices as possible, and that's why what you guys do is so important.
Covering what the corporate media covers up. Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup, a bombshell to end 2025 that sure seems to shed more light on part of the reason President Trump has moved heaven and earth to bury the Epstein files. In this explosive Wall Street Journal report, we find out that Trump in 2003, even after he publicly acknowledged Epstein loves young girls, he approved sending very young masseuses who worked for his Mar-a-Lago to do house calls for Epstein in his mansion. One girl, an 18-year-old employee of Trump's Mar-a-Lago, complained to HR that Epstein tried to pressure her for sex. Trump cut Epstein off from Mar-a-Lago after that, but did not report it to the police. I want to give you the details, but first, I think the context about a decade before this incident happened is important. As has been reported in the past, a woman accused Donald Trump of sexually groping her in 1993 in front of Epstein. So about a decade before this incident with the masseuse that Trump approved going for house calls at Epstein's mansion. So a decade before that, Stacey Williams accused Trump of touching her in unwanted sexual ways right in front of Epstein. Let me give you the specific scene, which is pretty gross. The alleged groping occurred some months later in the late winter or early spring of 1993, when Epstein suggested during a walk with Williams, apparently they were dating on and off, during a walk they were on, that he and Williams stopped by to visit Trump at Trump Tower. Epstein was later convicted on sex offenses. Moments after they arrived, she alleges Trump greeted Williams, pulled her towards him, and started groping her. She said he put his hands, quote, all over my breasts, as well as her waist and her buttock. She said she froze because she was deeply confused about what was happening. At the same time, she said she believed she saw the two men smiling at one another. So that was in 1993. Then we fast forward 9 years later to the infamous quote that Trump gave New York Magazine about Jeffrey Epstein. Here's the quote. I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy, Trump booms from a speakerphone. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it. Jeffrey enjoys his social life. This was in 2002 that Trump acknowledges he likes women on the, quote, younger side. And there have been reports and essentially witnesses who have stated they overheard Epstein and Trump in conversations, and pretty much all they talked about were their conquests of females. So Trump knows that Epstein has an affinity for young women, and now we find out in this Wall Street Journal bombshell, Trump approved very young, barely legal female employees of Mar-a-Lago of going to give Epstein personal massages at his home, his mansion, which was not far away from Mar-a-Lago. The incident that prompted Trump to ban Epstein from Mar-a-Lago spa. Mar-a-Lago sent an 18-year-old spa worker on her house call to Epstein in 2003. She complained to her bosses that Epstein pressured her for sex. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just a frequent visitor to Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago in the late 1990s and early 2000s. The club was also sending spa employees, usually young women, to Epstein's nearby mansion for massages, manicures, and other spa services, according to former Mar-a-Lago and Epstein employees. The house calls went on for years, even as spa employees warned each other about Epstein, who is known among staff for being sexually suggestive and exposing himself during appointments, according to the former Mar-a-Lago employees. The spa occasionally provided house calls for members. Epstein wasn't a dues-paying member of the club, wonder why, but Trump told staff to treat him like one, the employees said. Epstein had an account at the spa where his companion, Ghislaine Maxwell, booked appointments on his behalf. So according to the Wall Street Journal, Epstein, a billionaire, didn't pay dues to Mar-a-Lago, so why was he getting a free ride at Mar-a-Lago? We'll get back to that. And Trump knew that he wasn't paying dues, but told staff to treat him like a member nonetheless. You'd have to think that Trump also knew and approved of spas, masseuses, going for house calls at Epstein's home, who Trump knew had an affinity for young women, and a woman had accused Trump of groping her and fondling her breasts a decade earlier in front of Epstein. Let's continue. They came to a halt in 2003, meaning the house calls, after an 18-year-old beautician returned to Mar-a-Lago from a house call to Epstein and reported to managers that he had pressured her for sex, former employees said. A manager sent Trump a fax relaying the employee's allegations and urged him to ban Epstein, some of the former employees said. Trump told the manager it was a good letter and said to kick him out. The beautician disclosed the house call to the club's human resources team, one of the former employees said. The incident wasn't reported to Palm Beach police. Repeat, the incident wasn't reported to Palm Beach police, according to the former employees and police. The department didn't begin investigating Epstein until years later, when a parent told them Epstein molested a 14-year-old girl from a local high school. Epstein was arrested in 2006 after several underage teens told police he paid them for sex. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Tuesday the journal was, quote, writing up fallacies and innuendo in order to smear Trump, and repeated the same line they've been using. Trump did nothing wrong, and he kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for being a creep. The beautician's allegations and the Mar-a-Lago spa's practice of dispatching workers to Epstein's home haven't been previously reported. Employees sent on house calls like the 18-year-old beautician were typically licensed by the State Board of Cosmetology. Interestingly, the allegations came 3 years after Maxwell recruited another employee, Virginia Giuffre, who said she was 16 years old when she left the spa to work for Epstein. Giuffre died by suicide this year, which I won't get into, but is another, let's just say, suspicious suicide. The Wall Street Journal identified 4 other Mar-a-Lago employees who were listed as in Epstein's address book, which was obtained by the FBI in 2009. Of note, by the time Epstein was banned from the spa in 2003, disquiet over his presence at the club had been bubbling for years, including from Trump's second wife, Marla Maples, who in the mid-90s warned her husband and others there was something off about Epstein. I mean, there's so much smoke here, I don't know where to begin. Number one, the devil's advocate, if you wanted to put a positive spin on this for the president, which I'm sure his people will. He kicked him out after learning that he had, essentially tried to pressure a young 18-year-old masseuse for sex. You don't think if that were the case, if that happened, Donald Trump would be boasting as himself as some type of guardian of females, that he would be putting himself forth as a hero who protect women? I sure do. If Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, even though he wasn't a dues-paying member, which he could obviously afford it, so why didn't Trump make him pay dues? Why didn't Trump long ago try to preempt the accusations against him in the Epstein files by saying, I kicked him out of the club after one of my employees reported to HR that he tried to pressure her for sex. If he did that, that would be a good thing. Why didn't he shout that from the moon? And why didn't Mar-a-Lago and Trump report it to the police? You're not talking about he looked at her suggestively. You're talking about he was exposing himself to young female masseuses and he pressured her for sex. I mean, that would be assault. If you're pressuring her for sex, if you're exposing him, you're exposing himself to the young women. Why wasn't this reported to police? Why did Trump approve 18-year-olds going to give house calls to a man that he acknowledged basically had a fetish, he didn't say it this way, but was basically acknowledging this guy is a pedophile, or at the very least has a weird attraction to young girls. And why did he allow this house calls from young girls to go give him massages at his mansion, which was very close? He could have came to Mar-a-Lago, Epstein, after Trump reportedly was very pissed off about Epstein taking Virginia Giuffre, who was working at Mar-a-Lago, to then work for Epstein. All of this seems to indicate to me Trump felt he couldn't report Epstein to the police. Trump felt he had to send girls over to Epstein. Trump felt, I'm not going to charge him to get these massages, to basically get membership perks at Mar-a-Lago without being a paid member. Trump, I believe, based on all this, there's plenty to suggest Trump felt that Epstein had something on him, and as a result, might kind of do the right thing by kicking him out of the club that he was not a dues-paying member, but wouldn't go the extra mile of reporting him to the police, of making it public what Epstein was doing. Despite knowing he liked young girls, would put his young female staffers at risk, sending them to give him house calls. This doesn't seem like what a responsible corporate CEO would do. This doesn't seem like someone who isn't at the mercy of essentially one of the world's most renowned blackmailers. Doesn't seem like this is someone who's not at the mercy of blackmail. It seems like this is someone who is at the mercy of blackmail, whether it's because Epstein had stuff on Trump for allegedly groping a woman in front of him a decade earlier, whether Epstein had the goods on Trump's financial crimes, which include allegedly money laundering, tax fraud, mortgage fraud. Why would you tell staff, treat him like a dues-paying member? Shall we say we're just asking questions? And again, this is Donald Trump. You don't think Donald Trump would hold a press conference when the heat of the Epstein files started to get a little warmer, or even during the campaign, or say, let's release the files, and I exposed this scumbag. I kicked him out of my club after he tried to have pressure one of my young girls for sex. But he couldn't do that because he didn't report it to the police. And he didn't report it to the police because you fill in the blanks. And then you have the extra added element, which I've been reporting on. What actually happened to Jeffrey Epstein in prison in 2019? Because as of a month before his suicide, and as of 2 weeks before his suicide, psychological assessments taken by a prison psychologist said he's not suicidal, he's not anxious, he's not psychotic. All he's talking about is wanting to fight the charges against him and looking forward to his bail hearing, and essentially was complaining that he's not getting his constipation medicine. About 2 weeks before he was found suicided, Epstein complained. He was found basically lifeless on his cell floor, and he accused his cellmate at the time, who happened to later be convicted for 4 murders. He accused him of trying to kill him. Dr. Michael Bodden, a forensic pathologist, renowned forensic pathologist. He observed the autopsy. He said the fractures found in Epstein's neck were more indicative of homicide, not suicide. A mafioso who was jailed in that same prison cell, has come out and said there's no way anyone could kill themselves in that prison. It's structurally, there's nothing to hang yourself from. And you have Epstein's brother, Mark, who is just hell-bent and steadfast that his brother didn't kill himself. And he was looking forward to fighting the legal charges. And it came out, as I reported on, that Mark Epstein in 2023 tipped off the FBI that he believed President Trump ordered a hit on his brother. This isn't conspiracy land. This is all stuff that's happened. This is all things that a forensic pathologist said, a former inmate said, and his brother, by documents, tipped off the FBI. Can you imagine if any of this stuff happened, if Obama was president, tied to Obama, or Biden? Oh my God, Fox News, the right-wing media industrial complex, all these influencers and fake right-wing journalists. I mean, they'd be calling for the death penalty. Forget the trial. Credit to the Wall Street Journal. We need to know more about how many young girls were sent for house calls to Epstein, what Trump knew about it, were there other complaints sent to HR, and why were the police not notified? This is the law and order president, but we're not calling the police when Jeffrey Epstein tries to pressure one of your 18-year-old employees for sex? We will stay on this. Please support Status Coup for as low as $5 a month so we can continue this investigative journalism as well as our on-the-ground reporting all over the country exposing Trump's ICE terror campaign. You can become a member for as low as $5 a month.